Friday again.
It's Saturday, Sunday.
Anyways,
What?
yeah. It's Friday. I'm excited. You know what I do on Fridays?
Wait, what time is it there?
It's 5:24 p.m.
Okay. Oh, we're not going to be on at 7. I was going to say, it's 7 p.m. Friday. It's 95 degrees. Ari ain't got no
Do I know
man.
that song?
No,
Hey,
you don't.
I don't.
What do you do on
Um,
Fridays? I'm sorry. I'll answer your question. What do you do on Fridays?
I go dancing. I boogie, baby.
You
That's
boogie.
what I do on Fridays. Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah,
fun.
I know. I can't say I pull out the Bob's Burgers moves. So maybe a little more graceful than that, but anyways, welcome back
Duly
to another
noted.
episode. To another episode of the Plastic Season. Ari here, taking Lexi and you all through the next phase of our plastics journey, how it relates to human health. Lexi gave us a great breakdown, pun intended, last episode of how of how plastic has infiltrated the natural world in ways we never thought imaginable. Our current failing waste management system, the fact that we're still producing plastic at growing rates, the inevitable devastations like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and eventually microplastics, which is how plastic became present in the food chain.
Oceans.
Oceans.
Go listen
If
to
you're
the last
confused,
2 episodes if that
exactly. If
confuses
you're
you.
confused, you got 2
I'm not even
episodes
gonna
to catch
explain
up
it.
on.
Yep.
Today, we're going to dive a bit deeper into plastic in the food chain and what that means for us. So, first off, I'd really like to start this episode by saying, please don't freak out like too much from this information. Yeah, you should freak out a little bit because we need like enough spark for like change to happen. Obviously, this stuff is very serious, but please don't like leave feeling like we're completely doomed. Um, there is light at the end of this tunnel. There are solutions. We have all the solutions. It is so important to tell you guys what's the reality, like what's the reality first, so we know what's at stake here, we understand what's happening, and then we can transition to solution-based conversation. So allow me to start us off with the following fact. Again, don't freak out too much, please. Just freak out a little. Plastics are found literally everywhere now. In oceans, air, soil, and yes, inside the human body.
This kind of sounds like an bad Avatar setup.
Yeah, this sounds like a really bad Avatar setup. Microplastics have been detected in human blood, lungs, and even placentae of newborns. Like, I could literally vomit at this scene.
Well, way less cooler than Avatar. That's actually rancid. And it's not exactly shocking. Plastic is ubiquitous. Like we talked about literally last episode, it is in every single ecosystem, so it almost seems appropriate that it would then be inside of even our blood, our bodies. And if plastic production wasn't so widespread, I wonder if this would have been the consequence.
You
I
know,
wonder.
I think a lot of us are asking ourselves the same question, but nonetheless, we are here. We are not living in a parallel universe. At least these versions of ourselves are not. We don't need to get into the quantum physics right now. However, we are living in the version of the universe where plastic production very much happened. It's very much expanded, and it's very much everywhere, and now it's inside of us. So let's discuss the journey of plastics to our bodies. Yes, and we know from the last episode that plastics have ended up in our oceans and our waterways through poor waste management practices, and that they break down into microplastics, eventually ending up in the food chain.
I can't possibly imagine that that would have become a problem.
Who could possibly foresee that issue? And we're literally eating this stuff. That's problem number one. So I will preface this whole conversation by saying there are many modes of which plastic gets in there. Issue number one is we're literally eating it. But not just because we eat predatory fish like tuna and salmon, which are species that have high concentrations of such contaminants through bioaccumulation. But if you think that's the only source of plastic contamination for humans, you have another thing coming. This durable material has made its way to our bodies through more ways than one, as I said. So let's start off with food. Again, agriculture and farming. Like, plastic is used in so many numerous various modes for agriculture, in mulch, livestock feeding bags, fertilizers, irrigation tubes, and much, much more. Mostly because it is said to reduce water demand and increase crop yield, which just makes me want to LOL because, like, have you ever heard of regenerative farming? Just kind of annoying, but anyways.
Yeah, I fear there were more solutions than one, but this probably presented itself in the cheapest solution. I'm actually having a flashback of maybe like 2007. Picture me on a playground, and I can remember literally that they were mulched with rubber. Like, that was the alternative to wood chips. It was the alternative
Yep.
to even like gravel rocks, which why would you ever put gravel rocks as the bedding on a children's playground? I'll never understand. But yeah, and instead of those two, they opted for rubber. Much softer landing, I will admit, but now I'm
When
questioning
Lexi face
like
planted off the swing, which we all know probably
for sure
happened.
happened. For sure
Yeah,
happened.
for
I'm just
sure,
wondering like
for sure.
where does it all go?
But these are just things that we don't typically think of when we think of agriculture and plastics in relation to agriculture. We're not even thinking from like that early in the process. At least I wasn't. I wasn't thinking that it was involved from the beginning stages, from when the seed is literally planted, from how they actually harvest crops. Like, plastic's already involved. In late 2021, the FAO released a landmark report assessing the use of plastics in agriculture, which calculated that in 2019, agricultural value chains used 12.5 million tons of plastic products in plant and animal production, and 37.3 million tons in food packaging. Literally yuck. Plastics enter the soil environment via various pathways, including the application of sewage sludge or soil amendments with compost, irrigation with plastic-contaminated water, plastic mulching, atmospheric deposition, and literally just landfills, which are 79% plastic, by the way, newsflash. And the soil under the landfills acts as a sink for plastic pollution. Um, if you guys don't know this already, contamination plumes with soil is a very tricky thing, because when contamination, when a plume just kind of hangs out in the soil, it's not, I mean, it's definitely not good, but it's not as dangerous as it could be, until it hits the water table. So
Yeah.
once that keeps percolating into the soil, I mean, the plume in the soil is pretty sedentary. Like, it can move through a little bit, obviously through wind or through transpiration from the plants or whatever, but it's mostly sedentary. The issue is once this starts percolating into the water table, into the groundwater system, and water's flowing, man. I mean, it can go
Anywhere.
wherever. At that point, contamination is spreading like wildfire. So it's not good. It's not good that 79% of our landfills are filled with plastics, which are deteriorating and breaking down into microplastics and ending up in our soil and eventually ending up into the water table. A recent study in 2021 found disturbing amounts, to say the least, of plastic products and microplastics in sewage sludge, which is, again, used in agriculture very often as a fertilizer. And most of the particles were PET, LDPE, and HDPE. The transfer of these contaminants occurs in soil via the uptake of plant roots, throwback to like 7th grade science class, or by soil microorganisms like earthworms or other vertebrates.
And two things on this point. The first is, in another life, what feels like a life I didn't even live. It's like I read about it in a book somewhere. I worked in Florida, and part of my job was actually permitting for domestic wastewater treatment facilities, which is where some of this sewage sludge actually comes from. So if you're asking yourself, like, how is it getting into this fertilizer and then into the land? Well, it's coming from our waterways. Like, the moment you flush a toilet or something goes down the drain, like, that inevitably ends up, hopefully, if the system is working as it should, it ends up in a wastewater treatment facility. And then through processes at the facility, I'm sure that the plastic gets broken down into smaller and smaller bits. And then when that is applied to the land, it's making its way down. And funny enough, we never really dealt with this in the position that I held, just from like the plastic standpoint. And it's kind of scary that there weren't any kind of metrics for measuring how much plastic was coming out at the end of the process of actually like cleaning up this water, and then measuring what was being put then onto the land. And my other thought is, as you're talking about this, Ari, I believe I read somewhere for this episode that plastics are even affecting the pores for germination on seeds. So they are so tiny that they are literally getting inside of the exterior of a seed from the soil and then affecting when these plants are actually able to germinate and then sprout and so on and so forth. So not only are we having like climate problems that are impacting crop growth, but it's literally like clogging up the seeds.
Of course, yeah. They're totally affecting the growth of seeds, but they're also like, it's not always just staying on the exterior. A lot of the times they are from the seed stage, the seedling stage, are entering already like the plant composition, the plant DNA. Since the 1950s, when the plastics companies were pushing their products to literally every market known to man to see who would bite, newsflash, everyone bit ethanol. Plastic has been very much present in agriculture and our food harvest.
So now it has successfully made its way into the things we eventually eat, if I'm keeping up with your cadence. Good work.
Yes, correct. Long story short, we eat it. We eat it. And it's penetrated so deep in the system now that we have to do some serious work to remove microplastics from this part of our food chain. And again, we're not freaking out because we have solutions. Solutions exist. That's the very like Reader's Digest SparkNotes version of plastic in agriculture and farmland. We could probably do like another whole episode diving super deep into just that.
Yeah.
So we know that it's in our oceans. We know that it's in our soil and our food that we grow in agriculture. But where else? Where else are we getting? Is plastic affecting us?
No more. Stop.
You don't want any more?
I don't want it anymore.
I'm like, oh, I can see the stress. I do wish it ended there, but as you can imagine, if plastics can end up in our water, in our soil and plants, it also is very much present in our air. So if you thought you weren't getting enough, we're also breathing the stuff. Again, I'd like to take it back to 7th grade. I don't know why I'm so particularly fixated on this particular
time
era.
in your life.
Yeah.
It's probably because it's quite possibly the best you've ever. You were so cute. And all jokes aside, you were so cute.
So I know where you were
Adorable.
going with that. You were gonna say, like, it was maybe my peak. It definitely wasn't my peak. I would say I stay peaking. I just get cuter every day, like Jack
Yeah.
Harlow
That's why I
says.
stopped myself.
But
I was like, I can't lie to the people.
like,
This
but
is not
I
a
actually feel like
lying
7th grade
podcast.
Ari, like, maybe even had a little bit of this vibe going on. She had braces,
She's
but she was still
Ari's
cute.
always had some pizzazz, and she was just a cute pizzazzing
There's
little
always been a
7th
little
grader.
spark. Maybe we in the YouTube video version of this, episode, we should, like, splice some pictures of us in 7th grade. Do you think you could dig one up? That'd be so funny.
I don't have to dig very far.
Anyway,
My mother has plastered every stage of my life on Facebook for the entire world to see, so
why do
I'll
moms
just
do
go there.
that? Like, why? Bro,
And
to
they're
this day,
public. It's not even like they're private and hidden, but
I
it's
know, but
fine.
to this day, my mother will still, like, for birthdays, she'll post, like, she does this every year. She will post, like, some of the most, like, horrific
Lovely.
photos of myself. Like, I'm just like, why? Did we have to? Did we have to do that? Did we have to do that?
My mom's a
Um,
big fan of screenshotting. She used to screenshot my, Instagram stories.
oh,
So,
my soul just left my body. What? That's even worse.
it's a li
Anyway,
"Mom, I love you so much." It's a little heinous. Just
I
to
know,
use
you
the
know what?
pictures I
If
send you. I literally have
yeah,
a shared
literally,
and
if our
we're digressing
moms
too far, but I have a shared album with her, and she's like, "No, I want the ones I've screenshotted."
if our moms are listening, we love you, we appreciate the gesture, but just use the pics we send you, okay?
It just shows how much they love us.
Anyway, I wanna pick it back up with the 7th grade conversation, not what Lexi and I looked like, but the water cycle. Back to 7th grade science class. Water cycle. What happens in the water cycle? I'll make this quick because there's no point in lecturing. No one likes a know-it-all. But if you remember, water evaporates and is held in the air in the form of vapor, water vapor, which eventually forms clouds that produce rain. Ipso
Cute.
facto, these microplastics in our oceans and waterways are also evaporating into the atmosphere and hanging around the air that we breathe. And plus, remember, evaporation happens faster and more often with what is it? What is it? Heat. Thank you. And what's happening every year? Oh
It's
yeah, is
getting
the globe
hotter.
like getting
This was the
warmer
hottest
every
year on
single year?
record. This is the hottest year on
Yeah.
record. I think there was
So
1 month that might not have been, but anyways.
so anyways, point is, if you don't care about the warming planet, maybe you care about the fact that it's increasing the plastic in your lungs. The water cycle also includes plants. They're a part of this process, which transpire water with heat again. And on this ever warming planet, was that English?
I don't know, but you can try that again if you want.
The water cycle also includes plants, which transpire water with heat, and on this ever warming planet, a lot of water and with it, microplastics are getting into the atmosphere that way as well. And that's not all. If you think we just have the water cycle to blame for plastic contamination, let me just tell you something about incineration real quick. This is Lexi's favorite topic ever.
Is that supposed to be a ginger joke? Is that supposed
It's
to be
supposed to
like
be
that's supposed to be a dig?
it's supposed to be sarcasm because incineration literally sucks.
Mom, pick me up. I'm being bullied.
Yeah. Did you know that oftentimes when we recycle our plastic, it actually just ends up getting sent to incineration facilities? So when you burn plastic, what do you what do you think happens when you burn plastic, especially at these like like levels at these huge incineration plants, and it just gets burned? And remember what Lexi said last episode too, plastic does not go away. It's hanging out in the air. If you are one of our listeners who lives in Florida, incineration's happening in your backyard.
Counties in Florida can count incineration as part of their recycling metric. So when you see that X county has a 70% recycle rate, it's because they are more than likely incinerating, I don't know, what did I say, 60%? They're probably incinerating like
I actually do
59% of
think
that.
this is such a big problem with the communication of trying to do better for the planet, so to speak, because the type of language, like, oh, this percent is getting recycled. This percent of your total, waste recyclables is getting recycled. And it's like, what? Incineration is like lumped into that statistic. That is just so devastating. And
Yeah.
it shouldn't be left up to people to have to do that extra step of research. Like, we should do it because we like to be informed citizens, but that shouldn't be up to us. We are busy. We have other things to do. So, like, why is that left to us to know that that's happening? So yes, when you burn plastic, it ends up in the air. And due to wind patterns and currents, that stuff gets dispersed literally everywhere. There's even traces of plastic contamination in the most remote places in the world, like remote mountain ranges, the Himalayas, and the Arctic. Air pollution from plastics is kind of a newer area of research.
Not surprising, since we've only been doing this for 40 years, but
as you know, more than anyone, half of this time the research was kept internal.
In-house, we'll
and it
say.
wasn't released. So this is what we know publicly now. And it's enough. It's not like I don't particularly need more numbers.
good.
I want more solutions.
No,
I
I'm
don't
good.
necessarily need. I'm good.
I'm
Like
done
Lexi said
finding
when I
out.
told her, like,
I'm done finding out. I would just like to repair things now. I'd
thank
like to
you.
grow
Like,
and heal.
I'd like to heal from the trauma. So at this point, we're consuming microplastics physically on numerous levels, whether that be from the oceans and the food we source from the ocean, whether that be from our agriculture and farmland and the food we get there, whether it's from literally breathing it. Lex, take a moment, look around your desk, look around your room. Notice anything weird? I do. We package everything in plastics.
And if it's not packaged in it, maybe it just is.
Everything that humans use day to day, almost, not nice to generalize.
We're being a little
generalizing
hyperbolic.
makes me dramatic, and being dramatic is like 98% of my personality. So almost everything that humans use day to day or consume day to day has been packaged or touched or, blessed with plastic, okay? So our water bottled in plastic, our food wrapped in plastic, our beauty products that we put on our face and rub all over our bodies and wash our hair with, bottled in plastic. Even our vitamins that we take daily to stay healthy, bottled in plastic. Our clothes that we wear on our bodies every single day, all of that gets absorbed into our bodies. So it's not just about the physical consumption. Packaging itself contains BPA, phthalates, PFAS, forever chemicals. And if you guys aren't familiar with forever chemicals, we likely will do a whole episode on them because it's like one of those hidden evils that I feel like is just not talked about. For the purpose of this episode, I can do a little quick story time. I used to work very, very closely with PFAS and forever chemicals when I was working as an environmental scientist back in the States. You guys just need to know that it is that stuff is so freaking toxic. Like, the fact that it's still legal on any level is so disturbing. And we use it in our packaging, our cookware, and pesticides for agriculture. Like, I know I gotta pass the rabbit hole, but PFAS is literally everywhere.
Before we completely come out of that rabbit hole, if you take one thing away from today's episode, it's that you should not buy nonstick pans. And if you already possess nonstick pans, please read the do's and don'ts of their usage. Like, high heat, they can't go under broilers. You cannot use metal utensils on them. Like, they contain polytetrafluoroethene. I definitely said that wrong, but it's PTFE for short. If you can't use them properly, just don't buy them.
No, she's right. And PTFE already kind of sounds like an acronym for like something like when you're when you're just frustrated. Like PTFE, I don't know. It just gives me like a what the kind of vibe.
It does.
Sorry.
This all is a
WTF.
consumer dollar PSA as well as a health PSA. Anywho,
Right.
back to
Anyway,
you.
it's not good. Research shows that adults take in up to 150,000 plastic particles annually via just their diet, okay? This is not via packaging for beauty products and like the absorption through clothes or anything like that. Like just through your diet, that's 150,000 plastic particles annually. What does that mean? What does 150,000 plastic particles mean, Ari? Fabulous question. I've got the number for you right here. That estimates to consuming up to 12 plastic shopping bags per year.
Please hold for a moment of silence.
Moment of silence.
Yum.
Moment of silence.
I love actually, we were just talking about my overnight oats. I love sprinkling a little plastic bag, little petroleum to really fuel me up for the day.
That's per year too. That's not even like in a lifetime, you know? Like, oh God, it's just so icky. Beyond that, it even goes beyond packaging. I'd actually like to mention this one particular report from Consumer Reports about Fairlife that Lexi actually a few months back passed to my attention, and I just could not wait to mention it in this episode. Basically, in a letter to Fairlife, Consumer Reports urged Fairlife. We all know who Fairlife is. If you don't, you need to get out of the rock that you've been living under, because
Google search.
Or you could, use the Google machine to be nicer. Long story short, Fairlife has made itself the center of a lot of really nice conversations. Animal abuse.
For some unfair practices, one might say.
Unfair practices, lots of stuff. But here we have yet another example of why you really need to be conscious of your consumer dollar. Fairlife still continues to remain to be a high-performing dairy company after all this stuff. But listen to this. Consumer Reports has basically urged Fairlife to protect their consumers better from the high levels of hazardous plastic chemicals found in its food. So it's like in their like protein like milkshakes and stuff.
Yeah.
They had some of the highest levels of phthalates of any product tested in this particular study. It's like it's not even necessarily like the contamination from a packaging of food into the food. It's like the actual food sometimes itself has this in it. Like, excuse my French, it has it in it. The stuff is in there already. Like, how?
I think the how is like the most disturbing question, like, because they're probably not adding it in for fun, right? Like, it's making its way in there unintentionally.
If they're adding that into fun, like there's some really strange word, like this form of like
they're
sadist.
definitely fingers crossed, knock on wood. They're definitely not intentionally doing it, but like, how is it getting there? Like, where is it making its way in?
If I had to make an educated guess and take it back to where I started this episode with agriculture and farming, a lot of the times those kinds of additives are put in our food for a reason, for some sort of efficiency reason or like even preservative reason. So, you got to pay more attention. I hate to put this on individuals right now, but right now that's where we're at until we can like move toward the solutions, which we need to. I'll get to that at the end of the episode, where it's on company level, government level decision to remove this stuff out from consumption. It's in the food, not just from packaging, but also intentionally. Like, that was my whole point of this maybe too long detour, but it's intentional. Like, that's not there on accident. Like Lexi said, they're probably not putting that in for funsies. Like, so what does all of this mean for us? We know now that it gets into our bodies and how. It's a lot of uncertainty, but there is a few things we do know for sure. And those include respiratory problems, cell damage, congenital problems, and oh yeah, cancer.
TLDR, not good, and also not 100% figured out. We still, we know that these things are happening, but we still don't know what else is happening. We still are iceberg image. We are still just looking at the very top of what we can see.
She's right. And I pose the same question that we discussed a few minutes ago. Do we need to know more? Is this list not good enough?
Not enough? Is it not enough?
Long story short, it's toxic and a likely cause of death on many different accounts. And it also might even be bioaccumulating with each generation. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, we're finding this stuff in the placenta of newborn babies. It could be bioaccumulating with each generation, which it's a reality I don't want to be living in. We need to be taking care of our future children. It's for them to inherit these kinds of problems goes to a philosophical moral question at this point.
Bioaccumulation is definitely an area that we do need a lot more research in. Like Ari said, it might be bioaccumulating. There have been very recent scientific publications, like the last 3 years, that explore if it's possibly bioaccumulating. And just to break down what that means, bioaccumulation is the gradual accumulation of substances in an organism. Possibly, plastic might possibly be doing this. But where the kicker comes in is that bioaccumulation occurs when an organism absorbs a substance faster than it can be lost or eliminated by catabolism and excretion. So your body using it up so it goes away, or your body putting it through your system, like when you drink water or you pee.
Mm-hmm.
And in recent years, researchers, like Ari has been alluding to and also explicitly saying, researchers have found microplastics are transported to the whole body through blood circulation, and the existence of microplastics are found in 15 human biological components, such as the spleen, the liver, the colon, feces, placenta, and breast milk. So if you're not passing it through your placenta, you're now also passing it when you're feeding your child, which, again, we say this is gross, or we say this is disturbing. And a lot of this, I didn't know any of this before we started the research for this podcast. And it's frightening that it has made its way into the most basic biological functions and also some of the most intimate biological functions. Anyways, the answer to whether or not we are bioaccumulating it, we still haven't entirely landed on. But there are literally new research papers coming out all the time. There was one published this year in 2025 about finding microplastics in the brains of deceased people. So, do we need to know more for it to be taken seriously? I don't think so. But we still don't even know the full extent of what's happening.
Looking ahead. Okay, so we laid out all the facts for you. We gave you guys the reality here. Reality check, done. Okay, what are the solutions? Because there's always a solution. We are climate optimism at the end. Immediate solutions include avoid plastics when you can. It sounds dramatic. It sounds ridiculous because it's everywhere. But just hear me out. Definitely don't heat them. I don't say eat because you're probably going to eat them, anyway. But don't heat them. Don't let plastics, your plastic water bottle, for example, sit around in the sun and drink it, or hang out in your car, in the back of your car in the summer. This is the one that I actually don't think people know. Don't heat your food in plastic containers, people. Yeah. Please,
even if it says microwave safe, it's not. Microwave safe. Microwave safe means it's not gonna melt in the microwave. It does not mean that it does not have other problems occurring while you have your food microwaving.
Problems literally being microplastics entering your food. Please don't do that. Please do not, like Lexi said, please do not just read a label that says microwave safe and think it's all fine. Even like plastic bowls that are like harder plastic, like not Tupperware plastic, like any kind of plastic, okay? I'm talking about durable stuff too. Do not put that in the microwave, and don't put your hot food in that. Like, it's not just the microwave. Don't put like your hot soup you just prepared into a plastic bowl and eat it. Don't Y'all need to seriously stop going to like Starbucks or your coffee place in the morning and getting to-go hot coffee as well. Like, those are a lot of the times lined with plastic inside so that it doesn't seep into the paper. We need to be really, really careful about that stuff. Like, seriously, even if you think you're just using a paper cup, newsflash, the reason that coffee is not getting all over your hand is because it's lined with something, usually a plastic derivative, so that it doesn't seep into the paper and make your hand all
wet and
coffee.
hot. It's because we've been told, like, it's safe to do this. We're telling you, just find a replacement, maybe.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
maybe,
to say the
actually.
least.
Find a replacement.
No, yeah,
Just find a
it's not a
replacement.
maybe. Find replacements. So don't heat them. Avoid them when you can, and find replacements. Like Lexi said, replacements could be glass, steel. Always subbing natural products for synthetic when possible. I mean, yes, I want everyone to understand so badly. Like, remember in the last episode where we were like, oh, it's, people get so annoyed about the plastic straw conversation or about the single-use plastic conversation. This is what we're talking about, okay? It's not just about saving the sea turtles, which
No.
if you don't want sea turtles to be saved, also you're weird, but like it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. Like, we're trying to explore options of other materials that you can use to replace plastics. That's the message here. Whenever you can, find a natural replacement. Bigger picture. So those are some immediate solutions. Bigger picture is systemic change in policy. Lexi and I say it here every single time. And we say it every single time because this is how paradigm shifts happen. Bans on single-use plastics in different countries, for example.
Yeah.
Across the world, we are already seeing these kinds of bans being put in place. Although I will say the jury is still out as to how well enforced or how effective they are right now. But, you got to start somewhere. These bans already exist across the EU, the UK, throughout Africa, China, and select states in the US. I'm sure Lexi, living in California, can probably even inform me about some of the stuff that's happening over there. I know Italy has been enforcing some of their own types of plastic bans. These kinds of bans range from bans on single-use plastic as a whole, all the way to like specific types of plastic, whether that be plastic shopping bags, straws, things like that. The next phase another phase of the bigger picture shift we all need to be getting on board with is corporate responsibility and biodegradable alternatives. So this is always the kicker. I feel like this is even more important than getting the government on board, because if y'all know anything about how like the Western world tends to work, if the corporations aren't on board with something, they tend to have ways to make sure the government is on board with them. Okay? Is making the decisions that benefit them best. So I know that all of you self-proclaimed experts on economy and CEOs and CFOs are going to give us the "it's cheaper to do it this way" pitch. And babe, I love you, but it is just it's just simply not true. Okay? It's just not true. Most countries, in fact, would benefit from phasing out plastics in terms of cost savings, job creation, and economic growth in the reuse sector. In fact, a study by the European Environment Bureau suggests that 300,000 jobs could be created in the reuse sector in Europe alone, as reuse centers can create 70 to 80 jobs per 1,000 tons of material collected and reused. Okay, this is huge. In the US, the country that just can't seem to get it to get with the program, there are estimates that switching just 20% of disposable plastic packaging to reusable offers a $10 billion opportunity for businesses to save money, which can also create roughly 190,000 jobs. I mean, like, you guys can keep coming at me with saying that it's cheaper to do it this way, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not. It's not. In South Africa, a plastic phase-out strategy would result in an increase of approximately 310,000 jobs, of which, call out to intersectionality here, of which 51% would be for women.
And if I may just jump in, even let's just pretend that it's not cheaper. Let's just pretend it's not cheaper. But why would we still not do it? Like, we can't always be placing the emphasis on how much something costs, because at the end of the day, the real cost is our quality of life, and worse than that, it is our lives. Like, we really don't know how bad this can get. We have an idea of how bad it is-ish, but we also are saying that the cost of something being cheaper shouldn't outweigh how much value we put on human life. And all of this, whether the CEOs or the CFOs or the companies themselves get on board with this shift, typically companies are following what people are pushing. So if we are not buying their product, they are not going to produce the product. We haven't really talked about this too much, so I don't want to speak on it like I've done the research. But I do know that fossil fuel companies have been making large efforts to move away from fossil fuels and into the renewables arena because they realize that it's not sustainable as a business model. Plastics come from petroleum. It's not sustainable as a business model. The more that we buy things and put our money and our vote behind these more sustainable practices, not just because it's sustainable for the planet, but because it's gonna help us, like it's better for us, the more that the companies and also our politicians respond. I just wanted to point that out about the last 2 points in particular.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, because it shouldn't be about that. Like, that shouldn't be the argument. It's like, oh, it's cheaper, so let's do this. Like, that shouldn't, the fact that we're still there in that mindset is already a setback for us, because the priority should be taking care of our people. And Lexi, actually, just yesterday or this morning, you sent me something that I can't get out of my head on Instagram. And it was like a meme, or not really even a meme, because it was very real, very much happened, a conversation somewhere in some court or another, but basically it was asking a question, how much money a day does Elon Musk make?
From the
And
US
the
government.
answer from the US government. Oh yeah, by the way, that's the
That's the
God, I can't
caveat.
believe I almost said that. That's the caveat. From the US government. Like, money Elon Musk makes from the United States government. Okay, that's taxpayer dollars. $8 million per day.
Because
y'all
of
wanna
various
talk to
government
me?
contracts and his SpaceX, his Tesla, like, yeah.
Like, y'all want to tell me that it's too expensive to okay, babe. We gotta regroup. We gotta reallocate
The
the funds,
priorities
because
have been
the priorities are
mismanaged.
severely screwed up. We have the funds exist, and again, as per my point, it's even like, this is all hypothetical, right? This is saying that if it was expensive, it's actually going to be economically beneficial, as I've pointed out. So I just don't want to hear the it's too expensive argument
Rhetoric.
anymore, or the we don't have the money to do the transition, or any. It's just, first of all, it's all a fallacy. None of that is even true. Secondly, even if the money was a problem, we have it. Like, it's just being allocated toward bull. Sorry. Anyways. going to poise myself. Moving on. There's even innovations in plastic-eating bacteria and sustainable packaging. Lexi brought this up last episode, but basically there's a bunch of research coming out the last few years about a sci-fi-like solution to our plastic waste.
Basically, they're suggesting that you can incorporate spores of plastic-eating bacteria that they've developed, I assume in a lab, and it will self-destruct. That sounds super sci-fi.
It sounds really sci-fi.
It sounds really sci-fi, and I'm always a little suspicious of introducing a new species or creature into our environment.
Have you guys seen Jurassic Park?
Have you guys seen when they returned the wolves back to Yellowstone? That's a really good one. That's a really good documentary. Anyways, the spores remain dormant during the useful lifetime of the plastic, hopefully, but they spring back to life, very zombie-like, and start to digest the product when exposed to nutrients in compost.
I don't like the sound of it just because it sounds like I like sci-fi as much as the next geek, but it sounds a little icky. I don't really. I mean, but it's just
it sounds like
an
option.
Right?
It sounds like an option.
It sounds like an option for the current waste we have. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, we would stop production, clean up the recycling programs, make those actually functional, and then the remaining plastic we maybe have in landfills or whatever, maybe use this type of bacteria like in a controlled setting that could actually digest the product as you said, as it is exposed to compost. Sounds like an option. In conclusion here, guys, plastics are everywhere and they enter our bodies and we need solutions.
Luckily, we do have solutions. It's not like we're sitting here coming up with our own ideas. This is other people have already thought of the solutions and are beginning to implement them. We are brilliant, but these are not our ideas alone, which is good. It means that there's not just two people and you, the person listening, thinking about this. That's pretty good numbers right there. And frankly, you can start right now in helping the solutions. Like we talked about, it starts with what you buy. It starts with what you consume. It starts with how you talk about and interact with plastic and other materials as well. Like, you don't always have to be like shaming people. We don't like eco shame. Sometimes we do it, but we shouldn't. You don't have to shame people for their purchases. You can also praise them in the alternative. Like, doesn't have to be, oh, you bought da-da-da-da-da and that's made of plastic. You can be like, wow, I love your insert sustainable, reusable, not plastic item. I'll get off that soapbox.
Reinforcing the positive language there, yeah.
And the other solution is scientific advancements. Like, so I don't think that science is always the standalone game changer, but when you combine it with policy changes and us, the collective human consciousness that we are, that makes a difference. When we put all of our efforts together, it has never not made a difference.
So yes, you are a part of the solution. Congratulations. Thank you all for tuning in to another installment of the Plastic Season. Lexi and I are very, very grateful, and we are just so happy that you're trying to be a part of the solution with us. Next week, I will turn the mic over to Lexi again, the queen of podcasting, as she takes us through our next phase of the plastics journey, which will be a focus on environmental movements and policy shifts regarding our plastic wastes, which I honestly can't think of an episode that'd be better suited for her.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it more. I think it'll definitely be very solutions focused too. So if you've left the last couple of episodes feeling like, I know that there are small changes I can make, but I need more to not lose sleep at night, it's coming. Be patient. And if you have been here,
No, is that what she said? That's what they both said.
We're inclusive. If you have been here for a while, maybe you will recall that we did a reality of recycling episode way back in the day. And in this next episode, it will sort of be like a revamp of that episode. And we are really excited to hash it out again because I think that we really needed to take a second stab at it. And as always, thank you for listening. And please consider sharing this.
I'm laughing because I just remember her and I recording that, and it was just like
we did our best.
We were having like an existential crisis.
We did our best.
It was not good. Sorry.
We always are just trying to do our best. That's all that we can ask for. As always, thank you for listening, and please consider sharing this podcast with your friends or people that you think would find this topic interesting. Share it with your parents if you want your dinner conversations to be easier over the holidays. And also, please like, rate, leave a review, and check us out on social media. We are at Hotel Earth 360 on Instagram and Hotel Earth 360 on YouTube. Please also give our website a gander for written content. We have a newsletter, we have a book club that's coming out, and we always have good goodies coming. Try
always
saying
good
that.
Goodies coming.
Yeah, try saying that 5 times fast. Our website is hotelearth360.com, and check out the support page for ways to support this plastic. I said this plastic.
Don't support this plastic. Oh God, no.
Check out the support page for ways to support this platform. Because we are more than a podcast. We are 2 girls just trying to get by. Anyways, until next time, thank you for listening.
Until next time, bye guys.